I'm Zepherus, and today I'll be explaining the Kowloon walled city. But first, I'm going to get a bit meta. By clicking on this video, we can safely assume you've read the title, and as a result of either consciously or subconsciously have an idea or judgment on what the Kowloon walled city is. Cool, now throw that entirely out the window completely, because Kowloon walled city is this. Yeah, a 14-story tall slum in Hong Kong. That is crazy and really cool at the same time. The structure sat on a site roughly 210 by 120 meters, or 690 by 390 feet if you still use imperial, which would just barely fit into the 2012 Olympic Stadium. That's the flat bit, not the stands. And it had over 33,000 people living full-time in it, giving each person an average of 0.78 square meters if it was all one floor, which it wasn't. The rooms were built on top of the lower ones up to 14 stories tall, and they would have continued if it weren't for a nearby airport that needed the above airspace for planes to land. The alleyways and streets were built over, like alleys in medieval London or rivers in medieval London, and as a result, they were dark 24/7. Giving rise to the nickname for the city as the City of Darkness. Also, plumbing and sewage general construction ran unchecked. You could build whatever you wanted if you found the space. Speaking of which, since apartments in the thing were tiny, this walled city is a good example of how people like to try and maximize space. They built balconies, huge overhangs, new floors for more room. The rooftops that weren't built on were gardens, dumps, playgrounds, storage, and areas to relax, all at the same time. In the city, pretty much any form of cottage or amateur small-scale industry took place, with 700 establishments doing this in some form or another. There were even schools and nurseries, but most were homes, which most of the 33,000 people remember very fondly, describing what appeared outwardly as a shantytown or slum as a very tight-knit community. But what we're missing is a massive part of this. Why did they build it there, and why so desperately that it reached as high as it could? I mean, look at all that space. Why didn't they just build it there? Well, to answer that, let's begin with the creation of Kowloon walled city almost a millennia ago. Back then, in the green and unurbanized land was built a small outpost, used to manage the export and trade of salt. This, over centuries, soon progressed into a tiny military settlement, which is probably a lot closer to what you were imagining at the beginning of the video. Anyways, in 1842, the British Empire was given the land surrounding the city to try and stop the brilliantly named Opium War. They don't name them like they used to. Imagine fighting in a modern-day meth crusade. Anyway, not to get sidetracked, the British didn't actually get the fort. China kept it for military use. But at this point it was totally surrounded by a foreign nation, which made things a bit awkward. The Chinese built up the fort, adding a wall that stuck around in the name, even when the wall was destroyed a few years later, to help build up an airstrip that would go on to limit the height of the city. Small world. The British stormed the city in 1899 and kept it until World War II, when Hong Kong was entirely occupied by the Japanese. After Japan surrendered in 1945, China claimed it still owned that small area from all those years ago. Britain basically didn't care about the small patch, so left it alone. But here's the thing. Britain couldn't police the area as it wasn't theirs, and China couldn't because it was surrounded by another nation. This means that no police could gain access to the city, and as a result this small 2.6 hectare plot became a lawless limbo land, where you could get away with anything. You name it, it's legal. Well, not legal, but not illegal. You know what I mean. So, because this area had no laws, people and industry flocked there to take advantage of it, drawing a workforce with them. Over time, it also drew less shady commerce, since it needed to support the citizens already living there. So, that's how we got this weird-looking conglomeration in Eastern Asia. But you might want to hold off booking tickets to visit it yet, because this massive disease-ridden eyesore was so extreme that the UK and Chinese governments together formed a plan on how to deal with it. In 1991, most of the inhabitants were evicted from the city, and in 1993 and 1994, it was torn down completely. It once had a population of over 33,000. Now it is 0, because now on the site sits the Kowloon Walled City Park, which proudly displays a bronze statue of what was once, but is no more. I've been Zepherus, and thank you for watching.